The observation deck of the Krythian warship hummed with satisfied energy as General Voktar watched the surveillance feeds flicker across the holographic display. His 3 eyes blinked in sequence, a gesture that among his people signaled absolute confidence. Around him, junior officers monitored the progress of what they all believed would be the easiest planetary acquisition in recent memory. Status report, Voktar commanded, his mandibles clicking together in what passed for a smile among the Krythian command structure. Lieutenant Grixnell straightened, her crimson uniform pristine against her gray-scaled skin. General, the human research facility is isolated, 40 kilometers from the nearest settlement, 3 scientists inside, minimal security protocols. Should we proceed with standard extraction procedures? Voktar's laugh rumbled through the bridge, a sound like grinding stones. 3 humans? In the middle of nowhere? This is almost insulting. Send in Squad 7. Tell them to wrap this up before lunch. I want those xenobiology files, and I want those scientists alive for questioning. General. Grixnell hesitated, her secondary arms twitching nervously. Should we perhaps review human behavioral patterns first? Command sent new files regarding their defensive capabilities when cornered. Defensive capabilities? Voktar turned to face her fully, and several officers nearby suddenly found their terminals fascinating. Lieutenant, humans are Category 3 sentients. They have no natural armor, no venom, no enhanced strength. They are soft, slow, and entirely unsuited for combat. The only reason they survived their evolution is luck and that ridiculous habit of forming emotional attachments to absolutely everything. He gestured at the feed, showing the exterior of the research station. Pine trees swayed in the wind. A stream bubbled nearby. It looked like a vacation spot, not a military target. Look at this place. They build their sensitive research facilities in pretty locations because they prioritize comfort over security. This will take 20 minutes, maximum. Squad 7 has taken down fortified bunkers. This is a wooden building with large windows. Grixnell nodded, though her tail curled in a way that suggested continued doubt. Yes, General. Shall I transmit the go order? Immediately. Far below on the planet's surface, Squad 7 materialized in the forest surrounding the research station. Squad leader Thexik checked his weapon calibrations and surveyed his team. 12 seasoned warriors, each standing nearly 8 feet tall, armored in the finest Krythian battle gear. Their optical enhancements let them see through walls, their weapons could punch through steel, and they had successfully completed 63 missions without a single casualty. Remember, Thexik growled into the squad channel. Humans alive. Everything else is expendable. This should be simple. Through his enhanced vision, he could see 3 heat signatures inside, 2 on the ground floor moving slowly, probably working at terminals. 1 upstairs, stationary. Asleep perhaps? Even better. Krev, Dalnix, you take the rear entrance. Shut down their communications first. The rest of you, with me through the front. Quiet insertion, shock tactics. Let's make this quick. The squad moved with practiced efficiency. Years of training made them nearly silent despite their size. Krev reached the communications array on the building's east side and planted a scrambler. The faint hum of human technology died instantly. Perfect. Thexik reached the front door and paused. Through the wall, he could see one of the humans clearly now. Male, mid-40s, wearing what appeared to be a white lab coat. The human was holding something small and furry. Some kind of animal? Squad leader, one of his soldiers whispered. Is that human carrying a weapon? Thexik zoomed his vision. Negative. Appears to be a local creature. Earth fauna. Probably some kind of pet. You know humans and their emotional attachments. He shook his head. Even in a research facility, they kept animals around for companionship. Ridiculous. On my mark. 3, 2, 1, go. The door exploded inward with a controlled burst. The Krythian soldiers poured through like a tide of armored death. Weapons raised, voices amplified to maximum intimidation levels. Hands visible. Do not move. You are under authority of the Krythian Expeditionary Force. The human male, identified by the name tag on his coat as Dr. Marcus Webb, froze completely. The small furry creature in his arms squirmed. Another human, a woman with her hair tied back and labeled Dr. Elena Martinez, gasped and dropped the tablet she was holding. Excellent. Shock and awe working perfectly. On your knees. Thexik commanded. Place the animal down slowly and put your hands behind your head. Where's the third human? Dr. Webb carefully lowered the creature to the floor. It was, Thexik noted with his enhanced database running identification protocols, a young badger. Striped face, stocky body, relatively harmless as earth creatures went. The little thing waddled a few steps away and sat down, looking confused. Upstairs, Dr. Martinez said, her voice shaking. Dr. Yuki Tanaka is upstairs in the residential section. Please. We are not military. We study animals. We have no weapons. We know what you are, Thexik replied. Your research into xenobiology has applications that concern the Krythian government. You will be coming with us for questioning. If you cooperate, you will not be harmed. Dr. Webb's face had gone pale, but he nodded slowly. We will cooperate. Just, please, do not hurt anyone. Sensible. Thexik gestured to two of his soldiers. Retrieve the third human. Scan for any others. The rest of you. Secure all data storage devices and begin upload protocols to the ship. The two soldiers thundered up the wooden stairs, making the entire structure shake. Thexik watched the humans carefully, but they remained compliant, kneeling with their hands visible. This was going exactly according to plan. Then the baby badger made a small chirping sound. It was not a threatening sound. It was the kind of sound young creatures across the galaxy made when confused or seeking comfort. The little badger, probably only a few weeks old, waddled toward Dr. Webb, seeking the familiar scent. Stupid creature, one of Thexik's soldiers muttered, and without thinking, casually kicked the badger aside with one armored boot. It was not a hard kick, barely any force at all really, just enough to move the animal out of the way. The badger tumbled across the floor, squeaking in surprise and pain. The change in Dr. Marcus Webb was instantaneous and terrifying. His eyes, which moments before had been wide with fear, narrowed to slits. His jaw clenched so hard that Thexik could hear the teeth grinding even through his helmet audio filters. The muscles in the human's neck became visible cords, and his hands, which had been raised in surrender, slowly lowered. You, Doctor. Webb said in a voice that made the temperature in the room feel like it had dropped 10 degrees, just made a very, very big mistake. Thexik felt the first flicker of unease. Something was wrong. The human's body language had shifted completely. This was not fear anymore. This was something his training had covered but that he had never actually witnessed. This was a human who had stopped caring about consequences. Stay down, Thexik ordered, raising his weapon. Do not move or you will be stunned. Doctor. Webb stood up anyway. I said stay down. Thexik's weapon whined as it charged. This is your final warning. That, Doctor, Webb said, walking toward the whimpering badger with measured steps, is a 3-month-old European badger named Patches. Her mother was killed by a car 2 months ago. We have been raising her, feeding her every 4 hours, keeping her warm, teaching her to forage. She trusts us. She trusts people. He knelt down and gently scooped up the badger, checking her for injuries. The little creature nuzzled against his chest, still making distressed sounds. You hurt her, Dr. Webb continued. And now he was looking directly at Thexik. The human's eyes had changed color somehow, bloodshot and red-rimmed with rage. You came into our home, you threatened us, and I was willing to let that go. I was going to cooperate. But you hurt a baby animal that cannot defend itself. It is just a cub, Thexik said, confusion mixing with his growing alarm. It is not even your offspring. Why are you reacting this way? Stand down immediately, or I will be forced to use lethal measures. Dr. Martinez had also stood up, and Thexik realized with dawning horror that she was moving toward a desk. Elena, Dr. Webb said calmly, never taking his eyes off Thexik. The supply closet. On it, she replied, and there was something in her voice that made Thexik's 3 hearts beat faster. AL humans returned to surrender positions, Thexik roared. Final warning before we open fire. Dr. Webb carefully placed Patches behind a filing cabinet where she would be protected. Then he straightened up and faced the dozen armed Krythian soldiers. A man in a lab coat, unarmed, soft human flesh against military-grade armor and weapons. And he smiled. It was not a nice smile. You ever wonder, Dr. Webb said conversationally, why humans are the only species that domesticates predators? Why we have animals in our homes that could kill us, But they do not. Why wolves became dogs, why cats live in our houses despite being perfectly efficient hunters. Thexic did not answer. He was watching Dr. Martinez pull something from the supply closet. Was that a fire extinguisher? What could she possibly do with that? It is because, Dr. Webb continued, we have this thing about us, this trait. We form bonds. Deep, irrational, powerful bonds. Not just with our own kind. With anything. Other species, other creatures, even things that should be afraid of us. And you know what the flip side of that trait is? Upstairs there was a sudden commotion, shouting in the Krythian language, followed by a crash. Dr. Webb's smile widened. The flip side is that when you hurt something we have bonded with, we stop being the friendly, cooperative species that explores the stars and shares technology. We become the species that survived the Ice Age, that climbed to the top of the food chain on a death world, that looked at creatures bigger and stronger than us and decided they would make good dinner. You are insane, Thexic said, but his weapon was wavering now. You cannot fight us. You are 3 scientists against 12 trained warriors. 3? Dr. Webb laughed, and it was not a sane sound. You think there are only 3 of us? Thexic's enhanced hearing picked up something then. A lot of somethings. Movement outside, scratching, growling. His external sensors, which should have detected any approach, suddenly lit up with contacts. Too many contacts. What, Thexic said slowly, did you do? Dr. Martinez answered this time, and she was holding the fire extinguisher like a club. This is a wildlife rehabilitation facility. Do you know what we rehabilitate? Everything. Birds, mammals, reptiles. Anything that gets hurt or orphaned. We heal them, we raise them, and we release them back to the wild. The scratching sounds were getting louder. Thexic could see shapes moving outside the windows. Big shapes. How had his sensors missed them? But some of them, Dr. Webb added, and he was moving toward the stairs now, do not want to leave. Some of them stick around. Some of them remember who helped them. And you just kicked one of our babies. Upstairs, one of the soldiers screamed. Actually screamed. Something Thexic had never heard from a Krythian warrior in combat. Squad 2. Report. Thexic barked into his comm. What is happening up there? It's got Dalniks. Something, I don't know what. It came out of nowhere and it's, oh ancestors, no. It's going for the eyes. Another scream. This one cut off abruptly. The front window exploded inward in a shower of glass, and through it came the biggest wolf Thexic had ever seen. Its eyes were locked on the soldier who had kicked Patches, and its lips were pulled back to reveal teeth that gleamed white and very, very sharp. That is, Akela, Dr. Webb said pleasantly. We found her in a trap when she was 2. Removed her leg from the snare, treated her wounds, nursed her back to health. Took 8 months. She stayed nearby after we released her. Visits sometimes. Brings us rabbits. Sweet girl, really. Hates people who hurt babies though. The wolf lunged. The soldier fired wildly, missing completely as Akela hit him square in the chest with 80 pounds of furious canine rage. Armor meant nothing against those jaws. They found seams, joints, gaps. The soldier went down shrieking. Fall back, Thexic ordered. Defensive positions. But it was too late for defensive positions. The back door, which Krev had secured, tore off its hinges as something that looked like a small bear forced its way inside. Except it was not a bear, it was a badger. An adult badger. And it was angry. That would be Patch's father, Dr. Martinez said helpfully. We thought he died too. But apparently he just keeps his distance. Family reunion time. The adult badger made a sound that Thexic's translator could not process, then charged the nearest soldier with shocking speed. Badgers, Thexic's database unhelpfully informed him at that moment, have skin so thick and loose that they can twist around inside it to bite attackers, even while being bitten themselves. They also have jaws that can crush bone and temperaments that make wolverines seem friendly. This one lived up to the reputation. 2 soldiers opened fire, hitting the badger multiple times with stun rounds. It kept coming. Switched to lethal rounds. It just got angrier. Why is it not going down? One soldier screamed. Oh, Doctor, Webb said casually as he walked up the stairs. Did I mention badgers have been clocked surviving multiple gunshots? Tough little guys. Well, not so little in his case. From outside came a sound that Thexik recognized from nightmare scenarios in training. The territorial call of a bear. A big bear. That is Goliath, Dr. Martinez added, following Dr. Webb up the stairs while still holding her fire extinguisher. Found him as a cub 3 years ago. Paw, caught in a poacher's trap. We amputated 2 toes, but he got around fine after. Hung around the facility a lot, really protective of the place. The wall exploded inward. Not the door, the actual wall. And through the hole came a grizzly bear that must have weighed 800 pounds. Its eyes found the Krythian soldiers, and it roared with volume that made the remaining windows crack. Retreat. Abort mission, back to the ship. Thexik grabbed the nearest soldier and ran for the door. Behind him, chaos erupted. The bear caught one warrior with a paw swipe that sent him crashing through a table. The badger had latched onto another's leg and was shaking like a dog with a rope toy. The wolf had pinned her victim and was methodically destroying his helmet seals. And from above, from the second floor where his 2 soldiers had gone to collect the 3rd scientist, came sounds that Thexik would hear in his nightmares for years. Hissing, screeching, and screaming. So much screaming. He burst out the front door and nearly collided with a massive stag. The deer lowered its antler rack, which looked like it belonged on the wall of a hunter's lodge, and charged. Thexik dove aside, feeling one antler point tear through his armor plating like tissue paper. Ship. We need immediate extraction. Hostile fauna. Repeat. Hostile fauna. Define hostile fauna. General Voktar's voice came through, confused. All of it, it is all hostile. Send drop ships now. On the Krythian warship, General Voktar stared at the surveillance feeds in disbelief. His crack team, his elite soldiers, were running for their lives from what appeared to be a petting zoo. He watched as one warrior tried to scale a tree to escape the bear, only to be dive-bombed by what his database identified as a red-tailed hawk with a missing foot. The bird went for the eyes, a tactic that proved devastatingly effective. General, Lieutenant Grigsnell said quietly, perhaps we should review those behavioral pattern files from command. Shut up and send the extraction teams, Voktar growled. Back at the research station, Dr. Yuki Tanaka appeared at the top of the stairs, looking completely unruffled. She was holding a sleepy raccoon in her arms. Dr. Tanaka surveyed the chaos below with the calm expression of someone watching paint dry. The raccoon in her arms yawned, displaying tiny sharp teeth, then curled back against her shoulder. You started without me, she said, stepping over the unconscious Krythian soldier at her feet. His armor bore dozens of parallel scratch marks. Bandits got excited when they heard the noise. Bandits? Thexik wheezed from outside, trying to stop the bleeding from his shoulder wound. Through the doorway, he could see Dr. Tanaka descending the stairs with 3 raccoons now climbing on her like furry pirates. Family unit, Dr. Tanaka explained, scratching one behind the ears. Mother and 2 juveniles. Got into someone's attic last year. Homeowner panicked and sealed them in. By the time we got called, they were in bad shape. Dehydration, starvation. Took weeks of round-the-clock care. She smiled, and it reminded Thexik of the expression Dr. Webb had worn. They are very grateful. General, Thexik screamed into his comm as he stumbled toward the tree line. They weaponized rescue animals. The humans weaponized compassion. On the bridge, Voktar felt his mandibles go slack. That is impossible. Tell that to the bear. Lieutenant Grigsnell pulled up the behavioral files command had sent. Her eyes widened as she read. General, it says here that humans have a documented tendency to bond with anything that displays vulnerability. They have been known to adopt apex predators, nurse injured creatures back to health regardless of danger to themselves, and maintain these relationships indefinitely. So, Voktar snapped. So, Grigsnell continued, her voice shaking slightly. It also notes that threatening these bonded creatures triggers what human psychologists call protective aggression. The files reference something called a mama bear instinct, but apparently it applies to any being they have decided to protect. She looked up. General, it says humans once went to war because someone hurt their dog. That is the stupidest thing I have ever heard. It was a significant war, sir. Multiple human nations involved. Lasted years. Voktar opened his mouth to respond when the feed from Squad 7 cut to static. All 12 helmet cameras. Simultaneously. "Get them out," he said quietly. "Get them out now." The extraction ship descended through Earth's atmosphere at maximum velocity, engines screaming. The pilot, a veteran named Krythian, had flown through asteroid fields and hostile fire without breaking a sweat. Today, his hands were trembling on the controls. "This is insane," he muttered. "They are just animals." His co-pilot, younger and less experienced, had pulled up Earth's wildlife database. "These animals have names like honey badger, wolverine, and Canadian goose. Why would they name things after their geographical locations unless they wanted to warn people? Warn people about what? About how terrible they are. Look at this entry for the Canadian goose. It says they have been known to attack humans for entering public parks. Public parks. Places humans created for recreation. And the humans just tolerate this." Krythian did not respond. He was too busy watching the ground feed. What he saw made his blood run cold. The clearing around the research facility looked like a nature documentary had collided with a war zone. His soldiers, trained warriors in advanced armor, were scattered like toys. Some had made it to the tree line. Most had not. And converging on them from every direction were animals. So many animals. A fox with a crooked tail was harassing one soldier, darting in to bite at ankle joints before dancing away. A family of otters for ancestors' sake, had somehow dragged another soldier into the stream and were holding him underwater. Several crows circled overhead, diving periodically to peck at exposed areas with surgical precision. Where did they all come from? Krythian breathed. Inside the facility, Dr. Martinez was calmly checking patches for injuries. The baby badger seemed fine, just scared. She cooed softly to the animal while outside the window. A Krythian soldier fled from what appeared to be an extremely angry porcupine. "That is Spike," Dr. Webb said, watching with satisfaction. "Got hit by a car last spring, broken leg, internal injuries. Elena performed surgery, took 3 hours. Little guy pulled through like a champion." "Marcus," Dr. Tanaka called from the kitchen area. "Should I call Sheriff Morrison?" "Probably. Though I suspect our visitors will be leaving shortly." As if summoned by his words, the extraction ship roared overhead, searchlights flooding the area. Ropes dropped, and armored figures began rappelling down to rescue the survivors. "They are evacuating," Dr. Martinez observed. "Good. Patches needs her dinner soon anyway." The extraction team hit the ground with weapons drawn, expecting resistance. What they got was something far worse. The wildlife, apparently recognizing a retreat when they saw one, began to disengage, but not peacefully. The bear took one last swipe at a downed soldier, sending him rolling toward its rescuers. The adult badger grabbed a weapon in its jaws, shook it like a chew toy until it broke, then waddled back toward the facility with an air of satisfaction. Akela the wolf sat on her haunches and howled, a long, mournful sound that was picked up by other canines in the forest. Within seconds, the night filled with answering howls from dozens of throats. "They are calling more," one extraction soldier whimpered. "They are organizing." "Grab everyone and go," the team leader roared. "Leave the equipment." They did not need to be told twice. Within 3 minutes, every surviving Krythian was back on the ship, and it was clawing for altitude like its engines were on fire. On the bridge of the warship, General Voktar watched his elite squad return. Of the 12 who had gone down, 9 came back. 3 were still missing, last seen being dragged into the forest by what the helmet cameras identified as a family of foxes. Foxes. His elite soldiers, defeated by woodland creatures and 3 unarmed scientists. "Medical teams to the hangar," he said, his voice hollow. "Prepare for multiple casualties." "General," Krythian said hesitantly, "what do we tell command?" Voktar stared at the observation screen, where the research facility sat peacefully in its forest clearing. Smoke rose from the broken wall. Animals were returning to the woods. The 3 scientists had emerged and were standing in the yard, looking up at his ship. Dr. Webb raised one hand. Not in greeting. In warning. "Tell them," Voktar said slowly, "that the mission failed due to unforeseen complications." "What kind of complications?" "The kind that make you reconsider whether humans are actually Category 3 sentients." Lieutenant Krythian pulled up the full xenobiology report on humans, the one she had tried to get Voktar to read earlier. She scrolled through sections on pack bonding, protective instincts, and something called the domestication syndrome. General, she said quietly, there is a note here from the Krythian Empire. They encountered humans 15 cycles ago, attempted a raid on a human agricultural settlement, and the settlement had dogs. Large dogs bred specifically for guarding livestock. The Vok'tarians lost an entire battalion. She looked up. The dogs were not even the humans' primary defense. The humans just let the dogs do what they were bred to do while the humans organized a counterattack. Voktar felt something he had not experienced in 20 years of military service. Genuine fear. Pull up everything we have on human-animal relationships, everything. The database was extensive and horrifying. Humans had domesticated over 40 species. They kept predators as companions. They rescued injured wildlife and released them back into nature, maintaining bonds that sometimes lasted years. They had bred wolves into hundreds of varieties of dogs, each designed for specific purposes. They had tamed cats, creatures that killed for sport. They kept birds of prey on their arms for hunting. And they did all of this not for food or resources, but for companionship. They make friends with everything, Voktar whispered. Even things that could kill them. Yes, sir. And when you threaten their friends, they stop being friendly. Yes, sir. Down in the medical bay, the returning soldiers were being treated for injuries ranging from bites and scratches to broken bones and concussions. Thexik sat on an examination table while a medic worked on his shoulder. Squad leader, the medic said carefully, your report mentions that the humans did not actually attack you directly. No, Thexik replied, staring at nothing. They did not have to. They just stood there and watched while their animals destroyed us. Dr. Webb did not throw a single punch. He just smiled and provided commentary. Like we were entertainment. That seems cruel. No. Thexik shook his head. It was not cruelty. It was a lesson. They were teaching us something. What lesson? That humans are not dangerous because they are strong or aggressive. They are dangerous because they inspire loyalty. Because they save things. Because they take broken creatures and heal them. And those creatures remember. They remember. And they come when called. The medic was quiet for a moment. The 3 missing soldiers? Dragged into the woods by foxes. Red foxes, according to the database. Small creatures, barely 20 pounds each. Should have been no threat. He laughed bitterly. But there were 6 of them working together, and they knew exactly where the armor seams were. Almost like they had been taught. On Earth, Sheriff Morrison arrived at the research facility with his deputy. Both of them armed but relaxed. They had received a call about a disturbance and possible attempted break-in. Evening, folks, Morrison called as he climbed out of his vehicle. He was a large man in his 50s with the weathered face of someone who spent a lot of time outdoors. Got a report about some trouble? Dr. Webb gestured at the destroyed wall and the various pieces of alien technology scattered around the yard. We had visitors, Sheriff. They were not friendly. They hurt Patches. Morrison's expression darkened immediately. They hurt the baby badger? The little one you've been raising? Kicked her across the room. Well then. Morrison hitched up his belt. I assume they regretted that decision? Extensively. Dr. Tanaka confirmed. She was feeding the raccoons on the porch. Akela came through the window. Father Badger came through the back door. Goliath made his own entrance. Morrison surveyed the damage and whistled low. Looks like a tornado hit. You folks all right, though? We are fine, Dr. Martinez assured him. The animals did all the work. We just provided moral support. And where are these visitors now? Dr. Webb pointed at the sky, where the Krythian warship was visible as a bright point pulling away from Earth orbit. Heading home, I expect. Probably to tell their friends that maybe Earth is not such an easy target after all. Morrison pulled out his radio. Dispatch, this is Sheriff Morrison. Need you to contact that military liaison, the one who handles the weird stuff. Tell them we had an extraterrestrial incident at the Webb research facility. No casualties on our side. Visitors decided to leave. The radio crackled. Any injuries, Sheriff? One baby badger got kicked. She is okay now. The folks who kicked her, well, let us just say they learned why you do not mess with wildlife around here. Copy that, Sheriff. Sending the liaison team. Morrison turned back to the scientists. You 3 want to tell me exactly what happened? They did, and by the end of the story, Morrison was grinning. So let me get this straight. These alien soldiers, Big tough guys with fancy armor and weapons tried to kidnap you. And your rescue animals said no thank you? That about sums it up, Dr. Webb agreed. This is why I love this valley, Morrison said, shaking his head. Never a dull moment. You need any help cleaning up? We would appreciate it. Also, Patches needs a checkup. Could you call Dr. Hernandez at the vet clinic? Sure thing. And I will put out word to keep an eye out for those 3 soldiers your foxes dragged off. Though between you and me, if the foxes took them, they probably just wanted to show them their den and give them a stern talking to. Foxes around here are weirdly polite for wild animals. We might have had something to do with that, Dr. Tanaka admitted. We have been treating injured foxes for years. The local family knows us pretty well. In orbit, General Voktar made the hardest decision of his military career. He opened a secure channel directly to Krythian High Command. This is General Voktar of the warship Retribution. I am filing an immediate planetary reclassification request for the world-designated Earth. Granted, came the reply. What is your assessment, General? Voktar looked at the planet below, beautiful and blue and deceptively peaceful. Somewhere down there, 3 scientists were probably having dinner while their animal friends slept nearby. Somewhere else, his 3 missing soldiers were hopefully still alive and learning a very expensive lesson. Current classification, Category 3 Sentience, minimal threat level. Recommended for standard acquisition protocols. He paused. I am recommending immediate upgrade to Category 1. Maximum threat level. No contact without full diplomatic channels and explicit permission from their governing bodies. There was a long silence on the other end. General, that is the classification we reserve for species that have destroyed invasion fleets. Earth has no significant space military. They do not need one, Voktar replied. They have something far more dangerous. They have the loyalty of their entire biosphere. Every creature on that planet that they have ever helped, and based on what I have seen, that is a lot of creatures, will fight for them. Not because they are forced to. Because they want to. Another pause. That is unprecedented. Yes, sir, it is. And it makes them the most dangerous species I have ever encountered. Because you cannot fight them without fighting everything they have ever been kind to. And that list appears to be endless. Request approved, General. Return to base for full debriefing. And General, good call on the retreat. Thank you, sir. It was either that or watch my entire crew get defeated by a petting zoo. Back on Earth, the 3 scientists sat on their repaired porch drinking tea while around them, their animals settled in for the night. Patches was curled up in her heated bed, full of formula and already snoring. Akela dozed nearby, one eye occasionally cracking open to check on the cub. The raccoons were raiding the kitchen with Dr. Tanaka's permission. Goliath had returned to the woods but would probably be back for breakfast. Think they will come back? Dr. Martinez asked. No, Doctor, Webb said confidently. I think we made our point. Earth takes care of its own, all of its own. Shame about the wall though, Doctor, Tanaka mused. Goliath really did a number on it. Sheriff Morrison said he knows a contractor. We will have it fixed by next week. Dr. Webb stood and stretched. Come on, let us get some sleep. Patches has a checkup in the morning, and you know how she gets about car rides. As they headed inside, none of them noticed the small ship that detached from the Krythian warship and began a slow orbit of Earth. Inside, a Krythian xenobiologist named Trellix was already compiling a report that would change how the galaxy viewed humanity forever. His conclusion was simple but profound. Humans were not apex predators themselves. They were apex predator makers. They took broken things, healed them, and earned loyalty that transcended species. They weaponized kindness and made allies of everything they touched. And that, Trellix wrote in his report, made them the most terrifying species in known space, because you could defend against weapons. You could plan for military tactics, you could counter technology, but you could not fight love. And humanity had plenty of that to spare.